So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone. And oh, let's see, I have to ask you to unmute yourself. So go ahead and unmute yourself. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath in and exhale. I want to invite you to take a moment to take your candle, set it aside. Just find a moment to stretch or twist, to just step into your body more completely. Might be that you were at your computer today and kind of more up in your head. So just notice if there's any place in your body that is feeling like it could just use a little more breath, a little more openness, a little more aliveness, a little more nourishment, a little more consciousness. And let's go ahead and one more time, take a deep breath in and exhale. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. Eva, you'll have to unmute yourself in a second, but I want to introduce Eva. So let me go ahead and grab my notes here. Let's see. Okay, technology. Bear with me for a second. Okay, great. So welcome to Elevate Your Leadership and Grow Your Business with Intimacy and Deep Community Conversations. This is a masterclass with Eva Medilek, and I'm Jessica. I recently created the Feminine Frequency Global Festival for women light workers, which gathered 5,000 women from all over the world to share their wisdom. I'm the founder of Fem Talks, which for 10 years has been a sanctuary of events and community for women leaders and healers. And this masterclass with Eva is part of our Lightworker Elevation series, which is a series of fundraising masterclasses to support women to elevate their businesses, their leadership, and their prosperity. And our deepest intention is just by gathering together, we are directly making a positive impact. So just by being here today, you are giving back. 100% of the proceeds for this masterclass will be donated to the Equal Justice Initiative, which is committed to ending mass incarceration and protecting basic human rights for the American society and the most vulnerable people in American society. And we've raised $300 so far from this particular masterclass. And I'll just name, if every woman here donated just $5 or even $10 more, we could collectively donate an additional $500. In fact, our last masterclass a couple weeks ago, we were able to donate almost $1,000 to the chosen organization. So I included the link to Eva's giving campaign in the chat. So if at any time during this session with Eva, you feel like you have an aha or an insight, or you just feel a moment of appreciation for Eva, Eva's donating her time here. I'm donating my time here. We just want to be with you, but you can pay it forward by making a donation or upping your donation if you feel called to at any time during this masterclass. And the next week, I'll email you the recording, which you're welcome to share with another woman. I will also email the total kind of donation receipt so you can see what we were able to collectively give to the Equal Justice Initiative. So welcome to Elevate Your Leadership and Grow Your Business with Intimacy and Deep Community Conversations. This is an intimacy-based leadership masterclass with Eva around how to increase your influence and impact with intimacy. So I want to just introduce Eva, and then the floor is going to be hers. So Eva Medilek is a certified high performance coach and relationship success coach. She specializes in helping powerful, successful women like you have happier, healthier, more intimate connections in their relationships without giving up their power. And she knows firsthand how a driven personality type can leave you feeling lonely or disappointed or frustrated or resentful with all the to-do items. And high performance is really about succeeding consistently over the long term while maintaining a healthy, full life of positive emotions and relationships and connections. So Eva uses her personal experiences along with her leadership, transformational high performance training to teach you the pillars of high performance, as well as showing you how to communicate in ways that foster intimacy, influence, connection in your personal and professional life. And the final thing I'll name before we give our little finger wiggle of welcome is that she's going to email all of you a special bonus gift sometime in the next few days. She's going to gift all of you with a powerful take-home tool to level up every relationship in your life to be positive, supportive, and fulfilling, which is so needed as we go into the election, as we go into the holidays. So be looking for that in your inbox. Without further ado, let's take a moment to just give a little finger wiggle to warmly welcome Eva. And I'll go ahead and spotlight her. Welcome, Eva. It's such an honor to have you here.
Oh my God, it's so incredible to be here, Jessica. I just want to acknowledge and appreciate the safe and beautiful sacred space that you have created for women to share their gifts and their knowledge and their genius with each other in such a collaborative way. So welcome everybody. And I actually, for some reason this afternoon, got a little nervous. And I don't know what that's about. So I want to ask everyone if they would do me a favor and just help me kind of, all of us kind of ground and just get a little settled so that we can really enjoy the masterclass. So if you would all do me a favor, if you're in a position and not driving, to stand up for a moment. And it'd be nice if I could see everybody. So let's just kind of stand with our feet grounded. Take a nice deep breath. And let's just put both of our arms out in front of us like this. Beautiful. Now put your right arm in. Bring your right arm in. Awesome. Now bring your left arm in. Now just put your right arm back out. And then I want you to shake it all about. Now do the hokey pokey. Turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Sometimes we just need to bring some fun into this serious, serious world that we find ourselves in right now. So thank you for playing with me in this space. I know y'all thought I was going to get all deep and spiritual for a second, right? Awesome, awesome. So I want to actually see if I could share my screen a bit, and I'll do that in a second, but just to give you a little bit of what to expect. Basically, I want to speak with you today on how you can effectively elevate not only your leadership, but also grow your businesses with intimacy and deep community conversations. You see, with all of the social distancing that we've been experiencing and the isolation and the emotions that you all can agree are being unearthed around racial and social injustices on all sides, our leadership is more important than ever so that we can use it to have greater influence and impact. So if you can share with me in the chat, what attracted you to sign up for this masterclass and what you're hoping to learn? Just give me a little bit of an idea of what expectations you might have to get out of a masterclass with this title. If everyone could just share. Heart-centered leadership, beautiful. Just Marcella? Intimacy and business together. Reconnect with community, leadership based on connection versus authority, balanced leadership, effectively building an authentic business, an original approach to business. I loved elevating the idea of deep community conversation. I can identify with the concept that my driven side can get, yes, no, I actually agree with you on that. Authentic, beautiful, beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. Great. Now, Of course, with all things growth related, the first step is always developing a heightened sense of awareness. You see, you have to know yourself before you can change or grow yourself. And so the first step would be taking a realistic look at your past that will help you become aware of why you have certain habits, patterns, beliefs, and behaviors. Now, how many of you have done any leadership or personal development work in the past? Just put a 1 in the chat so I can see if you've done any type of advanced learning around. Look at you. Of course this group does. Of course this group does. Got it, got it, got it. So let me see if I can get my screen share going here. Perfect. Perfect. So I just wanted to, the reason why I'm doing a little bit of a screen share here is sometimes I may be talking fast, and if I have it on the slides, you can just take a little screenshot. It's really not that I like boring PowerPoints, but I got a new computer and I wanted to try it anyway. So thank you for playing with me in that space. So based on what you shared in the chat, a lot of you may already be incredibly self-aware when it comes to what's happening in the world today. So you may be self-aware based on all the personal development that you've done in the past, but literally, when you take a look at what's happening in the world today, you actually might be realizing that you are being made even more aware of some uncomfortable personal blind spots in some areas of your life. What I want to help you with today is, first of all, how do you have conversations around COVID, politics, racism, without damaging your relationships? How do you use your voice, share your thoughts, and take a stand for your beliefs in today's volatile and sensitive climate, and not damage your business or lose clients in the process? Especially when you're still educating yourself and learning some hard truths about yourself. How do you use what you are discovering to up-level your leadership? Well, the first step is determine the impact that your early life experiences have in shaping your patterns, beliefs, and behaviors today. But first, I just want to share a little bit about me. You see, about 10 years ago, after my 50th birthday, we were actually in an economic meltdown 10 years ago. And I spent over 30 years in the practice of dental hygiene, and then I got downsized. And as the main breadwinner in my family, that was devastating to me. And I realized at that point that I actually wanted to become an entrepreneur. And that's when my entrepreneurial journey started. Now, with most entrepreneurial journeys, driven, powerful, high-achieving women go all in. We're doing it all. So I was still working my day job. I was learning about real estate investing, actually, and building that business, but I was still cooking, shopping, laundry, all of the stuff. I was doing everything. I was a superwoman and a martyr and a control freak and all of that. But as a result, I was a stressed out, burnt out, overwhelmed mess. So my health was impacted, my mood was impacted, and my relationship with my husband was in breakdown. And then one day I discovered that my husband was falling in love with another woman. And in that moment, I realized that I could lose it all, that everything that I had worked for and the reason, my why, my big why, we all talk about our why, could change forever. And I would be doing all of this for nothing because we had big dreams. We dreamed of living in Europe. And it was in that moment that I realized that I bore a lot of responsibility for the breakdown that was occurring in my marriage. And my husband and I actually sat down and discussed if we were going to turn this breakdown into a breakthrough or if we were going to end up breaking up. We weren't attached to the result, but we were attached to taking responsibility, 100% responsibility each. There was no 50-50, 100% each. And that was the first thing that we did. We took responsibility each for how we contributed to the breakdown in our relationship. And then through the help of coaches and counselors and therapists, we looked at our relationship styles and what we were bringing in from our past into our relationship today that was having a damaging or sabotaging effect on how we were in relationship. And so I'm happy to say that we have a happy ongoing journey. We did create an amazing breakthrough for ourselves. But what I learned in that process about being, really being, and how it was having an effect, not only in my home life, but in my job as a dental hygienist. You know, I wasn't the most popular person because I was just in the drive to succeed all of the time, and just really taking a step back to know that I can achieve that next level of success without sacrificing my health, my well-being, and my relationships in the process. And that's what I'm passionate about today. So let me just go to the next slide, because this is the meat of the work that I do. I've identified 5 relationship styles that could sabotage and damage the connection and intimacy in your relationships. And I've created an acronym to explain what they are. So now I have to read my own slide. Okay. The S, I did it from the word style because I just love that word. And I really created something to help my clients remember what their primary operating style is. So S, seeks to please style. T, tries to control style. Y, yo-yos back and forth style. L, looks to accept blame style. And E, evader or evades emotion style. So these 5 styles were developed in us as a result of growing up in certain types of home environments, and created specific habits, patterns, beliefs, and behaviors and traits in our adult interactions and relationships. It's very important to develop an awareness of how your relationship style impacts your ability for connection and intimacy. And when you develop that awareness, that's the very first step in up-leveling your leadership, impact, and influence. The foundation of the work that I do with my clients in my Success Without Sacrifice program is to determine what your primary relationship style is, discover how your style impacts how you relate, because it's hard to direct where to go if you don't know where you're starting. Or what I like to say, you can't read the label from inside the jar. The pickle inside the jar can't read what it says on the outside of the label. So that's why it's really important to have someone to show you where how to be aware of where your style is impacting your relationship. So let me give you a very brief overview of these styles and the home environments that created them. And this is another reason why I'm sharing my screen. I'm sorry, I was reading the comments and I get a little distracted. That's cute. Just so you can have a little visual. So the first style, seeks to please. If you've got this relationship style, you probably grew up with an angry, critical, or overprotective parent. And anxiety is the main driver of this style. It's minimized as stress or concern or worry. But what it does is it blocks feelings of sadness or anger because you focus on the feelings and needs of others to keep you from facing and being out of touch with your own feelings and needs. And people with this style find it difficult to receive as well. The tries to control style. So if you have this style, you grew up with some chaos or turmoil in the home, and typically there's some sort of abuse or addiction in the home. Your parents are actually the source of danger, anxiety, and fear because of the destructive, dangerous environment that they've created. And there's no safety or comfort if you've grown up in a home like that. The next one of my favorites, is yo-yo, back and forth or push and pull. If you have this relationship style, you've experienced some periods of abandonment, I should say, growing up. There were times that your parents truly connected with you, but that connection was not consistent. Your parents sometimes became more absorbed in their own stuff or their work or their social life that they became unavailable to you. And as a child, you're left waiting and hoping for that connection to reappear, because you did get tastes of it, but then they were busy again because that connection was dependent on what mood your parents were in. Is this interesting to people? I just gonna get a little check-in. You find it interesting? You just put a Y in the joy. You missed S. Hi, Lisa. That must mean S is you. Awesome. I'll do a little review at the end. Okay, now we've got looks to accept blame. This relationship style experienced a similar type of turmoil in the home as the controlling style, but with a different response or reaction, because the kids in this tumultuous environment, they were more passive. And so they developed what I like to call, they want to accept the blame. They become fearful and anxious. They have a deep anxiety that causes them to want to stay invisible. They want to keep the peace, avoid conflict, and it's their fault because they're bad or unlovable. They've always tried to be the ones that make everything better, and they thought good behavior would lessen the abuse or addiction or the violence or turmoil in the home. And then we've got evades emotions, or my evaders. Those with this relationship style experience parents who found their kids' needs overwhelming and irritating. The kids were taught to ignore their feelings or diminish their needs, and the parents are emotionally unavailable. Your independence makes your parents happy. If you've ever heard, grew up in a home or seen this, big girls don't cry, or maybe the son's heard, be a man, man up, boys don't cry, or you'll be all right, anything to avoid seeing you upset or crying. Your independence made your parents happy if you were self-sufficient. And so with the lack of comfort or nurturing in this type of home, you actually disconnected, and you're recognized for politeness, achievement, and hard work. So does anyone think that they recognize what style they might be just by this very brief overview? Of course, I do go deeper with my clients, but do you have an idea? You can just put a Y for yes or N for no, or better yet, your spouse. Anybody recognize what their spouse or partner might be in this situation? Cool. Yes, Erin, there's very often a combo. But one trait, I like to say it's like university. You major in one style and you minor in another. But each of these styles has specific traits that show up in how you relate today in life and in business. And when I work with my clients, we work on developing an awareness of what traits are sabotaging how they relate. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So recognizing what your style is will help set specific transformation goals so that you can foster greater intimacy and connection in your relationships. You've already seen some of these styles had a disconnect and lack of emotion and connecting to that. So you've got to recognize it in you first before you can transform and grow to that next level. When you have those tools, you can create deeper intimacy and connection and achieve greater influence and impact in every area of your life. So let's go on to the next part, the 3 things that threaten to hold you back from being fully empowered in your leadership, impact, and influence. First one being fear. You want to put yourself out there more. You want to take that risk, voice your commitment, and take a stand and use your voice, especially in these times. But putting yourself out there and showing up consistently as your most courageous self is not always easy. Social media will shoot you down, you'll get criticized, you'll lose friends and family, and we have our own stories in our heads that don't support us. So maybe you've had some things happen to you in the past that prevent you from fully going forward today. And sometimes just facing the unknown, you don't push as hard as you could because you're worried about what will happen if you really go for it and you fail, or if you look bad, or you can't handle how hard it is and you go through all of that effort and it doesn't turn out well. Any of these resonate with anybody? You could put a 1 in the chat if you recognize some of these fears that's really holding you back from stepping full on into your empowerment. Yes. Yes. Thank you for your honesty, guys, because these are real concerns that you face on a daily basis. It's scary. It's scary when you have a lot of obligations and you feel stressed and overwhelmed. It's scary when you might not have support of family and friends like you thought you would. Like, who here has thought that their friends and family, the community that they've been with for years, share their belief on, let's just say, human rights, racial equality, and racial justice, and then you see what they're posting or you hear what they're saying and you realize that you're not completely aligned and it's a shock to you? Has anyone else been surprised that some of their friends do not share your beliefs in what's going on in the world today? Like, oh my God, isn't that triggering? Yes, Jessica, Sarah, Lisa, Whitney. It's so like, what? It's a WTF moment. So one of the things that I focus on in my program is making sure that my clients are conscious of this fear, knowing where it's coming from, where it's stopping them, and how they can face it as their best self. And then we've got another huge sabotaging problem of fatigue. Let me just take a sip here. A lot of us little energizer bunnies will burn out along the way, climbing to that next level. You know, you work super hard, you get a lot of momentum, you get halfway there, and then you're done. And as a result, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you're irritable with loved ones. This is exactly what I experienced when I was building my business and just sharing a little bit about myself. I was just on that hamster wheel, like, all right, I'm already 50. I've got to get to success. I don't have 30 years as if I were in my 20s or 30s. I've got to get this done. And I was stressed out, burnt out, and overwhelmed. So I know this one a lot. And so fatigue is more than, you know, what we think, not just getting enough sleep or I need to rest more, but it's not taking care of your mental energy along with your physical body too. Listen, leadership, influence, and impact demands a lot of energy. When you're drained from the emotional stress that you may be feeling from the world, you actually lose momentum. That's why figuring out how to marry your psychology and your physiology is important with dealing with the issues of fatigue. You have to be mindful of your mental energy and physical stamina. And a lot of us in the Black community are feeling a lot of this fatigue from what we're seeing on social media and some of the disappointment that we're feeling with people we thought were allies or colleagues. And it's really important, even as you are seeing some of these things on social media that may be causing you to just be tired. And it's really important, before you get irritable, before you get triggered, to step away and take care of your mental and physical energy. And I know with the community that Jessica has built, you all know what to do to take care of yourself and self-care. So let's jump into frustration a bit. Maybe you feel like you've been beating your head against the wall for the last couple of months and not experiencing the momentum towards your goals that you thought of or desired. Perhaps you're doing a lot of things, they're not paying off, and it's making you restless. You might be questioning where you are and becoming frustrated with the people around you. and it's hurting your relationships. Even though these are not positive things to talk about, it really is important to work through some of them and figure out what makes the difference in you becoming a more impactful leader. So if we're going to talk about some of the practices that create deeper intimacy and connection in your personal, professional lives, how do you overcome that fear, frustration, and fatigue and create a framework that improves your intimacy, influence, and impact? So there is a framework. First of all, be a human being over a human doing. It's important to set an intention on who you are being and if you're being led by love or fear. So part of creating a winning framework is asking yourself, who am I in this? What do I want? What do they want? Do I feel seen, heard, and respected? Do they feel seen, heard, and respected? And what is winning in this situation? So let's talk about process. Because when it comes to listening and communication skills, winning the process is more powerful than the outcome. You may achieve the outcome and the resolution that you want, but what feelings were generated in the process? So when you win the process, you'll get more of what you want. Win the process and the feelings, and the outcomes will work themselves out. This is a writer-downer. When you win the process and the feelings generated through that process, the outcomes will work themselves out. And I'll share an example with you a little bit later. Just want to get through these. Frame the positive. 90% of conflict is about you, followed by judgment. For example, I need, I want, versus we need and we want better. So acknowledgement and appreciation of what worked is important in preparing the soil for deeper, intimate conversations in your relationship. So here's what I mean by that. You want accusation versus conversation. You want to get out of the territory of accusations in your relationships. And we can see by social media, that ain't happening a lot. No accusation has ever made a relationship stronger. That's another writer-downer. This is what we get to do. We need to stop pointing fingers. And all my creative artists out there, we need to start drawing circles around us and bringing us together. The third point in winning the process is describe the observable. You can't see a feeling. What happened that someone could see or hear? No breakthrough is going to come from more judgment. Breakthroughs come from love. So share what you felt. No one is a mind reader. So after describing what you observed, share what you felt, because if you just talk about the feelings, you'll fight about everything. Because after you describe what you felt, you want to describe how you want to feel. So you see, many of us are fighting to validate our feelings, and they're negative feelings as well. You know, we're fighting to defend and to really make excuses for why we feel. This is why I feel this way, and you made me feel this way. And all of our fights are in the time zone of the past. Think about fights that you've had with your spouse or your partner or your parents. You always do this, and I always feel this way, and you've done that before. All of these things are in the past time zone, and you're getting defensive and reactive because of the negative feelings that are surfacing. Set a context and vision for the future when you're having these conversations. And so create a winning framework is the first step in not only resolving the conflict happily, but creating safety in being in relationship with you. So the first step is we got to calm ourselves so that we can calm others, and that will create a safe container to resolve conflict. So I want to share a story that kind of puts all of this, like, how does this look in real life? You know, it all sounds good kind of esoterically and up here, but how does this look in real life? First of all, the first thing that works is don't assume that it's anyone's intention to hurt your feelings, and let them know that. I'm sure that if you're in any type of relationship, you know, partner or spouse, that your partner or spouse is not waking up each morning to figure out 15 different ways to hurt your feelings today. I'm pretty sure that that's not the case, or they wouldn't be in relationship with you. So I want to just share a brief story of how this framework works. A few years ago, I was training for an endurance challenge, and I had a coach. He's actually the owner of the Atlanta Hawks, and his wife is the creator of Spanx. So we got a lot of Spanx, which was awesome, my favorite thing. So Jesse was training us for this endurance challenge, and every 10 days, we trained for about 4 months, but we didn't know what the challenge would be. But he had us training, so we went in blind. So every 10 days, we'd get like a list like this with what workout to do each of the 10 days, or if we would have rest, or if we would have journal or whatever. So back in the days when we could travel, you know, if I were traveling somewhere for work or whatever, wherever I was in the world, I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do my workout before my day got started. And I remember my husband and I were at a social gathering. Remember those? And I heard him say, in a group of guys he was with, my wife's crazy. She's getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning and doing these crazy workouts. She's nuts. And when I heard him say that, my heart hurt. My heart hurt. I thought he'd be proud of me. I thought he would be bragging about me, but he's calling me crazy to his friends. And I really wanted to burst into tears. And so I remember one night at dinner, it seemed like a good time. And I said to him, there's something on my mind, hon, and I want to share what that is. Is this a good time to talk? Always get permission to talk. And he said, yes. And so here's how I frame the positive. I know you love me. I know you're proud of me. And I know it's not your intention to hurt me. Describe the observable. You told so-and-so, X, Y, and Z. You told Ben that you thought I was crazy for getting up and working on the endurance challenge and doing my workouts at 5 a.m. Describe the observable. Then shared how I felt. When I heard you say that, it broke my heart. And I know that it wasn't your intention. I know that you were trying to be funny about it, but it really hurt me when you said that. Described how I felt. I just really want you to be proud of me. Look, I'm in my 50s and I'm training with all these 20 and 30 and 40-year-olds. I really want to feel that you're proud of me. His response, oh my God, of course I love you and I never meant to hurt you. I'm sorry. The next time we were at a social gathering, we used to do them more than once every 6 months, believe it or not. I heard him say, you know, I'm so proud of my wife. She's getting up at 5 a.m. She's training. She's doing this endurance challenge. And that's how it was safe for him to not be accused of hurting my feelings, because I actually shared, I don't know why I felt like that, because I know that that's your sense of humor, but that's how I felt when you said that. So sometimes it just helps to have a real story to put in that context, because normally I would have had an attitude and not spoken to him had I not done this work and practiced what I preach, and he would be like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And you know, us women, he should know. He knows what he did. You know how we can get, right? So right now, I'm going to ask you to be open to asking yourself, what is true and important in your life right now? Ask yourself what's possible if you really focused in these areas, and how might improvement in these areas help you, help your family, your team, your career, your mission, and your overall life goals. Because I'm sure you know a lot of people who succeeded in their career, but it was at the cost of their marriage or their relationship with their kids or their health or their own true personal fulfillment. You see, your current thinking and behavior got you this far, What will get you to elevate to that next level, and what mindsets or habits will you have you approach life in a new, more courageous manner. So I want to talk about influence real quick. And if you would be so kind as to share with me in the chat some definitions you may have of what influence means to you. Just want to see where everybody's thinking, because we all have different definitions of influence. But for this discussion, I really want to focus on 3 things that the world's most influential people have in common in the way they influence both individuals and the masses. So inspiring others to act, affect the outcome of a situation, helping others have a new perspective, and inspiring people towards positivity. Beautiful. Let me just go to the next slide real quick. What did I do? I gotta go back. Winning framework. Oops. All right, well, that slide didn't work out. All right, we'll just talk about the 3 common traits of influence. I don't know how that got deleted, but the first one is they teach us how to think. And notice that I said how to think, not what to think. Great leaders and influencers are very conscious in sharing with others how they might think about a given topic. And it's their articulation about how to think about problems, opportunities, and different perspectives that make us follow, believe, and admire them. You see, currently we're in the midst of this election and the campaign, and everything we see and hear is aimed at influencing how we vote in the upcoming election. So you can really see evidence all around you on how powerful influence is. See, in my coaching program, I challenge my clients to think of a person or a group they are trying to influence. And we work on specific outlines and questions geared toward influence and persuasion so that they can have greater impact in every area of their life. Another common trait that influencers have is they challenge us. You see, when someone challenges us, they influence us, and nothing mobilizes our attention and energies better than a challenge that demands us to stretch our knowledge, skills, and abilities. That's what Dorid's challenge was to me. I stretched beyond what I could ever stretch before. So when you think of a person or a group you're trying to influence, what challenge can you issue that gives them an exciting vision of the future? Think of the benefits of the challenge, why the challenge is good, not only for them, but for others, but also how you're going to communicate that challenge to them. And you also want to role model the way. Listen, we don't believe the messenger or the message if we don't believe the messenger. So who you are, how you show up in life, the actions you take, and the values and principles you enact are closely watched by the world. So ask yourself these questions when you think of a person or a group you're trying to influence. A, if I'm going to be more influential with this person or group, they would need to believe that I am a person who. B, the best parts of who I am. Remember we talked about human being versus doing? The best parts of who I am that I will have to show and demonstrate to them are. And the reasons why I'm willing to become a better person in order to serve this person or these people are. And it goes back to, you've got to know yourself before you can grow yourself. So it starts within. So think about how influential you've felt in your relationships, in your career in the past 4 to 6 months. I think we can all agree that our levels of influence have needed to really step up to the demands of the times. Some of us have had to pivot our businesses and find new ways to deliver our content, messages, workshops, and services. We've also had to find ways to stay connected and strengthen our connections with loved ones and coworkers and our clients. And we've been challenged. Oh, Jessica, you want the 3 questions again? Yeah, sorry, my PowerPoint didn't work. Okay, if I'm going to be more influential with this person or group, they would, oh, you know what? I'm going to put them in the chat because I do have them written here. And this way, that can be in the forefront. Let's see if that worked. Beautiful. Helpful, guys? Great. All right, so when we talk about the challenges that we've had and how to respond to and react to the social media posts and comments, we really have to look closely at and re-examine who we are, how we think, and how our families and communities are reacting and responding to racism and politics and the media. So to say that we're being stretched is an understatement, guys. So how are you developing the skill of holding fear in others while you're still mastering your own? Who do you need to be to have greater impact in your life in business? So I've got one more little exercise I want to do with you guys. And this is very, very powerful. And we're going to stand up again for this. And it's good to stand up after hearing me chit chat for the better part of 50 minutes and stretch out a little bit. This particular exercise that I want to do with you is to see how far you can stretch yourself. I'm going to have you all stand up and get grounded. It's not the hokey pokey this time. It's a really powerful exercise. And I want you to stick your right arm out, and with your feet firmly planted in the ground, in the floor beneath you, I want you to turn around as far as you can go and see just how far you can stretch your arm and see where it points, and mark on your wall or wherever that your arm is pointing as far as you can go. As soon as you've got that, come back, put your arm down, and now I want you to close your eyes and visualize that mark that you just pointed to on the wall, whether it was a picture, whether it was mine was a lamp, a closet door, whatever it was. And once you've got that visual, I want you to imagine, look at the spot 10 inches past that mark that you were at, and just visualize where that is on the wall. Everybody got that? Now we're going to do this again. You're going to stick your arm out, your right arm out. And now you're going to do the same exercise again. Go all the way around. Now come back. What happened? Share in the chat. I was able to go much farther, so much easier, much farther, much farther. Got past my sleeve of my red jacket and point to the door. Went further, definitely further. How cool is that? Yes, further and with more ease. Beautiful, beautiful. So let me just share this with you. When I witnessed the murder of George Floyd, I felt grief in a way I had never experienced before. Something in me broke, regardless of whatever crime he committed. The blatant, depraved indifference for his life was breaking my heart, to say the least. And I was really lost as to what I could do to make a difference. You see, I knew I couldn't continue with business as usual, but how could I, me, like little old me, a nobody, make a difference and have impact? And when I saw what white presenting non-Black people were saying, with the hopes of showing support, and how they were being massacred for saying things like all lives matter and you know, things like that, I knew I could create a safe space for people to have access to resources that would educate them on what was appropriate and what wasn't, without hate, judgment, or criticism. That was my intention. And that's when I started the Intimacy of Race Facebook group, to have these discussions about race and learn and grow, and how to have powerful conversations that persuade others to believe in or to commit to something. So how many of you have had challenges in communicating where your support lies with people who don't necessarily agree with you in this charged climate? You can just put a 1 in the chat, because if you're entering in these conversations armed with only your passion and not a plan, put a 1 in the chat. If you're avoiding these conversations with people you know won't agree with you anyway, put a 2 in the chat. But if you're passionate about where you stand, if you were passionate about where you stood in the early days of the woke movement, so to speak, of this resurgent, but have since cooled off a bit and are kind of in and out, put a 3 in the chat. And be honest, because we're in a safe space here, and I appreciate your honesty. I really do. So how can you persuade others to believe in and or commit to something? How do you get people to buy into who you are and where you stand and what you're selling? You see, when I work with my clients on how to be specific and intentional in their persuasion so that they can increase their impact and influence, not only in life, but in business. So in the last few minutes, I would just want to share some secrets to persuasion. And I do have a few secrets. Number 1, and I could put these in the chat too, get specific. Jessica's reading my mind here. Get specific around the belief or action you want to influence and the reasons why. Number 2, know the wins for others. Remember the process wins and the feelings wins and the outcome wins. In marketing, you want to market to the outcome. You want to set the stage. You want to have that vision. You just even saw in that exercise, as soon as we envision something further and better, we did it with ease and we went further. So you want to market to that outcome. You visualize that outcome and you made it. You also want to frame the positive, the benefits around that action or belief. You want to sell the positive future aspiration. Also, what are the intrinsic and extrinsic rewards that would increase motivation? Internal and external rewards. The benefits that the belief or action will have on others, family, community, the world, etc. But also visualize the bad alternative, the consequences of not doing or having this belief or action. That was a lot, guys. I know I tend to over give content because I'm really, really passionate about helping us make a difference and use our voice to have impact, because it does have that ripple effect. So the bottom line, and let me just put the persuasion secrets in here for you in the chat in case you want to copy those. Awesome sauce. So if you want to increase the impact and influence of your leadership, you got to deepen your ability to be intimate and intentional in your conversations at home, at work, and in your communities. And Jessica, how is that for ending on time for Q&A? I hope this was helpful, guys. I hope this was valuable. I hope that it caused you to think about really taking responsibility for who you are being and how you are showing up while having these conversations, and really want to know more about what's blocking you from going deeper and going intimate. And so, yes, I know you wanted me to share about my free gift. So what I wanted to offer to everybody on this call and in this masterclass is the relationship style assessment. The assessment that I use with my clients to help them determine what their primary relationship style is, and the associated traits of those styles. I just went over the household environment that you grew up in, but the actual traits in those styles that are actually causing you to sabotage, damage, block, and not fully step into your leadership powerfully. And so once you have an awareness, as we all know, we can really go further and do the work to break through and have a breakthrough in our intimacy and in connection, so that we can have greater influence and impact in our lives. So I am going to do that quiz with you. I'm going to share that quiz with you and meet with you to have a session to determine, because it's not just the quiz. I do do a little bit of investigative reporting so that I can give you the most accurate description of what your style is personally for you. So that's going to be my free gift.
Thank you so much, Eva. We're going to open it up for Q&A in just a moment, so bring your potent questions. But Eva will email that out to you in the next day or so you can look for that in your inbox. And I just, really want to appreciate you, Eva, not only for donating your time here for this fundraiser / masterclass, but also in addition to that, having this free gift that inherently woven into it is intimacy, is this basically like this time with you. So just really appreciating that. It's such a special gift for our community. So we're going to open it up for Q&A. Just a quick reminder, because this fundraiser ends in 15 minutes. So if you felt appreciation and want to show that and making additional donations towards Eva's fund, which will be donated entirely towards 100% will be donated to the Equal Justice Initiative. There's still about 15 minutes left to donate $1 more, $5 more, $10 more, etc. And we've raised about $370 so far. So we've done a really great job. And if everyone chips in a little bit more, we can donate more, which is awesome. So yeah, super cool. So the link is there in the chat box. But let's go ahead and open it up for Q&A, and you get some to ask whatever juicy question of Eva. And what I would say is just unmute yourself, say, "Hi, I'm Jessica," and then go right into your question. And we want to make room for as many questions as possible, so be concise. So the floor is yours, ladies. You can go ahead. Oh, quick question. Lisa said, do we essentially buy another ticket to donate more? Yeah, exactly. It would basically just kind of name, email address, as if you're buying another ticket. It's the easiest way we could figure out how to do that. Floor is yours, ladies. Ask questions of Eva. She is here.
And you can also share any ahas and takeaways. I love hearing what landed, what didn't land, what you heeded, all of that stuff. What'd y'all think of that, the arm stretch? Not the hokey pokey, because y'all did that before when you were little ones.
That was great. I think women are donating. I see people concentrating.
Trying to multitask.
I've done that once before, and I forgot how significantly far. I really was at my max the first time, and then just that visualization, I went further than a foot. I was just.
But wasn't it faster and easier? Wait, that's not hurting. That was really cool.
Yeah, Eva, this is Marcella. I had a
Hi, Marcella.
question. Hi, thank you so much for everything. I'm just trying to gather all of my thoughts. There's so much juicy information that you shared today. Love the visualization, by the way, very easy technique to show how powerful it is. I think the thing that I would like more explanation on, or just expounding upon, is you talked about process, outcome, and feelings. And sometimes I feel like I get super just bogged down in the process, or am I even doing the right process? And in your definition of process, what exactly would you mean? Can you expand on that?
Yes, of course. I actually use an analogy, you want to really prepare the soil. You wouldn't plant a seed in hard, rocky soil with a bunch of weeds. You'd want to really make sure that your seed has the best chance, whatever you're planting, to germinate. And so you frame the positive is part of the process. Framing the positive, you don't go in with what's wrong. The example I used with the discussion I had with my husband was a kind of process, feelings, and outcome type of thing. I created a safe space to, number one, just say what I observed, not accusing, you always make jokes that hurt my feelings. which a lot of us will do in the past. I even with the cabinet doors open in the kitchen, he'll take stuff out of the cabinet and then won't close it, and I bump my head. So instead of saying, how many times do I have to tell you? I always bump my head. I can just state the obvious, the observable. The cabinet doors open and I bump my head. And so when you talk about the process, even in that other example that I use, you know, we get defensive when we feel accused of something. And that creates context. If you can set the stage in the process so the feelings, the negative feelings don't come up, it's just like, look, I know you didn't do that intentionally, but I want to share with you, for whatever reason, I felt hurt. My feelings were hurt when you said that. And I know it's not your intention, but I wanted to share that with you because I really want to feel that you're proud of me. And so that was kind of a demonstration of setting the framework. And I always use my marriage as an example because we went through so much together to get it right and to stop wanting to be right. But what do we need to do to get it right for each other so that our feelings are protected? See, for those of you in a relationship with men tend to not hear sarcasm and condescension in their voices. They don't hear it. But we react to it. I know I react to it like a mad cat and violent and like, what did you say? Why are you talking to me like that? You know, I'm over exaggerating, but they don't hear it. And so just to know in my heart that he has no idea when he says or does that, it really comes out as condescending, helps me not want to kill him, number one. And in other men in our lives, we get to state the observable. You know, you may not be aware, or, you know what, I know it's not in your intention, or, you know, any other time you're speaking well, or whatever you can do to frame the positive. But when you say it like that, it really sounds like you're mansplaining to me, or you're speaking down to me, or whatever. And so we remove the accusation and the negative feelings that come to the forefront and really create a safe space to have a more intimate dialogue about what just happened, how you felt, and what you want to feel afterwards. I hope that helped. I tend to get chatty.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I love the example of just preparing the dirt, prepare the soil for the seed.
Yeah.
I use that in so many different situations.
Mm.
Hi, Eva. My name is Delisha, and I'm from Los Angeles. And I'm just so glad to be here and be in this sacred space with everyone. And the question that I have is this: when you're conversing with someone who may not agree with you politically or racially, you see they don't feel the way that you thought they felt, how do you go? What do you advise in terms of continuing the conversation without destroying the relationship? Like, to say you're right in the middle of it, how do you segue away from it or bring some clarity to, I don't know, like, what do you do? Because I know that that will happen and I just want to be prepared.
Yeah, I actually was in one of those recently. Somebody had responded to a post that I made taking a stand, and they said to me, and this was somebody I know, you know, you're better than that. And I was like, what? You know, what? And so what I do in those situations when I have an opportunity to invite into a conversation is I get curious before I get furious. First of all, you go in with a plan. Going in blind, your emotions take over. They just do. And I went in with a plan, like, you know what, I really want to find out what she meant when she said that, what was coming up for her, and why that was. And just, you know, and we set the framework. We made an appointment, we had a call, and I've had this with a number of my white friends who are saying some really racist things and actually accusing me of racism as well. I'm like, you know, we're all racist. Let's just, you know, put it out there. But anyway, and we just started like, look, I want to just say, you know, I have love and respect for you because we all want to feel seen, heard, and respected. And the conflict starts when you don't feel that anybody's listening to you or that they really hear you, that they really, they don't have to agree with you, but the feelings in that process, you know what, she really took the time to listen and learn about me. Now, there's no guarantee that you're going to agree, and the best you can do is agree to disagree. But I love to thank people for wanting to go in there and have the conversation with me. And if it's somebody that you really care enough about to want to persuade, then what I work with my clients is a persuasion formula. We look at, you know, just some of the questions we ask, and what would be the intrinsic reward? What would be the extrinsic rewards? Because some people in this climate, logic doesn't work. And you really have to tap into emotions and feelings, because they're not believing the logic, or they have some kind of blockage to what may be logical for you is not logical for them. And so I do more of a feelings approach when having that. And when I'm explaining to people, you know, in the community, in the Black community, when you say this or when you do this, or people who believe that, is really hurting us to the core. And here's why. And you really want to have that emotional connection. That's why I say you have to have these intimate conversations, because you may not be aware of it, because you've never been in an underserved group, or you've never had this feeling. Let me share with you a story of when somebody said and did something to me. As a dental hygienist, I can tell you, I've had people refuse to have my hands in their mouth because I'm Black. Now, you know, I was a dental hygienist licensed in 1980. That wasn't that long ago. Like, come on. So, but a lot of people don't realize, and as Black women, and from your photo, I can see that you're Black. You know, we have been resilient. You know, I don't see your gorgeous face, but I see your gorgeous photo. We have been resilient for so long that we've swallowed so many of these stories to protect white fragility in a way. And I'm just going to be honest and put it out there. We are responsible for swallowing our own stories. And now, you know, we get to share them so people can really see how deep this goes and have those intimate conversations about them.
It's so real. Thank you so much, because it's very much a very real thing. And it's like, I really don't see color till someone reminds me, oh, you're this or you're not that. And it works both ways, because there's people in the community that my husband and I are in where, you know, they don't want to deal with anybody that's not Black. And I'm like, that sounds absolutely insane to me. Like, that's not even, how can you be talking about spirituality and wholeness, and then you want to segment out another aspect of life? So, you know, thank you. I know the time is short, but I'm just so glad to be in this conversation. And I want to say, Jessica, thank you so much. I hope to speak with you one day, because you've been a real blessing to my life.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Delicia.
This is Jean. I'll ask a question.
Hi, Jean.
Hi, thank you so much for all of that wisdom. And I'm kind of bringing it together. Basically, we live in such a divisive time that it's hard to express our needs without triggering other people. So you're kind of giving us some practical tips on how to navigate that. And that's what you're saying is going to help us also connect with our customers and clients, because there's that possibility of mistrust between us as well.
Well, I've been doing this work before our climate, before 2020 got to be the special year that it is turning out to be, to say the least. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. But the learning how to resolve conflict is a leadership issue, regardless of what's going on in the world. And it starts with how you do it at home. You know, you can't have a hot mess of a home and then expect to go lead your teams and lead your communities in a way when, you know, you can't have a conversation with your husband without being triggered and making accusations. And so my way of doing things is really marrying the strategies of high performance along with relationship coaching, so that we can have a both and success without the sacrifice. These same practices work in dealing with the triggers we're all experiencing. Everybody's experiencing triggers. Everybody's experiencing, you know, on the one hand, Black people are awakened to their part in contributing to the racial divide. White people are awakening to some of the shame, blame, and guilt that may be resurfacing for them. And then you've got people who don't identify as white, but they're not Black either. So they don't know the depths of the Black experience. And I'm using the Black experience because that's the one in the news right now. And so how do we have these conversations that's not from a place of fear, but from a love? How do we calm our own fears that are coming up in us? The change. What if they don't like me? What if I say something wrong? What if I get criticized? What if I get trolled on the internet? What if? Calming in ourselves and also opening up a safe space to have a deeper conversation with people in our lives and in our communities that have a totally different perspective. And it's just like, for me, it's been like, my good friend of over 20, almost 30 years has defriended me on Facebook because of the stand I'm taking. And we've traveled together. She's been in our wedding. We've been roommates. We've been all over the world together. And I just had to come to that realization that people are meant to be in my life for a reason, but this is now a line drawn in the sand. And if you're not going to be for a human rights issue, is what I see, for my communities to really have justice and equality, then, I would rather not hear what you have to say about it, because it's very hurtful to me. And it was a request from me, and she heard something different. First of all, what's important to ask a lot in a lot of our conversations that we're having, that may be one where we have an opportunity to have influence, is to really check in what you're hearing people say. Because if they say something to you, for example, and you say, if you can say, this is what I heard you say, to make sure that there's clarity and no misunderstanding, because there could be, was like, no, that's not what I meant at all. And if somebody can hear, because when I hear what people respond to some of the things I put out there, I was like, that was no way what I intended to be said. That's why I don't like to get into a tit for tat back and forth on social media. Like, let's take it off so we can hear each other's hearts. It's real important to hear each other's hearts in a conversation.
Thank you.
I really appreciated Jean's question, because it segues into it's more of like a question prompt of one of the intentions for this masterclass was one of my secret intentions was, you've been very awesome, Eva, at creating these through your coffee and conversations and interviewing other community leaders, like creating these like deep community conversations, like public conversations with other community leaders, specifically around some of the issues that you just named, and creating intimacy and community around those conversations. So I just felt like Jean's question was a perfect segue to maybe not so much as a plug, but just like anything around just deepening community, like taking some of these principles that you named earlier or questions and like, kind of applying them to the community and community, like group conversations, which takes some bravery.
Yeah.
So just kudos to you and any thoughts you have that around that piece.
Yes, the community that I created in the Intimacy of Race Facebook group has certain ground rules of respect. There's no hate, there's no making anybody wrong. And so we really do set a powerful framework on learning and growing. And so, there are things that are posted in there that could be triggering, but when you come from a place like people are in there to learn and grow, we don't have it together. I don't have it together. I'm not an educator, but I do want to be really vocal in stating where I stand and not be wishy-washy about it, because the spiritual community got a new hiney ripped by spiritual bypass in the community. What I'm seeing in the leadership community is more of a focus on how the problem is discussed instead of focusing on the problem and taking a stand for where you stand. Do you stand for racial justice and equality, or are you just going to be kind of, well, this side said this and this hurt this side's feelings and back and forth? So for me, creating a community discussion means that you get to take a stand in your community that you are a leader and an influencer in. And if there are, that comes with a certain amount of risk. You may lose members of that community. You may lose clients. You may lose followers. I mean, heck, in your own family, you know, maybe grandpa stopped talking to you because he doesn't believe in this nonsense or whatever. You just don't know. Are you willing to take a stand? Or are you willing to just use your platform to only focus on how we talk about the issues and not really what the issues are and what your stand is? And so I think it's important in setting a framework around how you lead these discussions in your community, but also make no mistake about it, this is where you stand. You stand for content of character. Like, you know, I am a person who has benefited from the tax cuts of the Republicans or the tax plan or whatever. I benefited from that as a businesswoman, as a business owner, as a real estate developer and investor. I would gladly pay triple the amount of taxes I already pay for racial justice and equality. I'm not going to stand on the benefits of a policy in my personal life when you have whole communities being annihilated through systemic racism. And that's a stand I'll take. Instead of contributing to, you know, I'll pay more taxes. I'm okay with it. I will do whatever it takes. And I've never really made a stand like that before these incidences. I'm not going to vote for Trump just because his policies benefit me as a entrepreneur and a business owner. I mean, hell, I remember first getting started and was like, I'm going to be the next Donald Trump. I said those words. Little did I know what he would turn out to be. But I was thinking, you know, I didn't even know he wasn't a successful businessman until what's coming up now. But that was it. It was Robert Kiyosaki. It was Donald Trump. I'm going to be a real estate mogul. And he wished, you know, it was in my branding. I was the style mogul back then. Mogul was in my name, in my branding, in my company. And so, you know, I share that with you because, you know, in light of what's going on, we get to shift and take a powerful stand so that people who know, like, and trust us will listen to us. And I want to hear why she feels this way. What's going on? Why did she change? She used to always say, I'm going to be the next Donald Trump and he's got nothing on me. And, you know, kind of jokingly, because that'll never happen. But, and I'm finding a lack in the leadership community on really declaring, but more, I would say, dissecting what people are saying and how they're saying it without actually taking a stand and letting people know where they stand.
What would be an example, like if you were like, that person is making a stand, like what would that look like? Like, could you demonstrate what that would either sound like in a sentence or two? Like,
you know, I saw a post on someone who just stand and declared who they were backing and why. It was because there's white patriarchal supremacy on both sides. Let's make no mistake about that. It was just like, it really is 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But taking a stand, and I believe I may have done it before, I share so much, but sharing that I will stand for content of character, racial justice and equality. I will stand for people being treated fair and unhooking the racist system that, you know, really breaking the racist system that has built our America. Our America was built on systemic racism. The system was built on racism. And so taking a stand and saying, this is what my business stands for. I know there's one influencer that actually showed people how to put it on their website, so people will know that this business takes a stand for racial justice and equality, so that there's no doubt about it. You're not a business who denies racism. Bye, Jean. Thank you for your question. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You have a good
And Good to have you. I appreciate you. And yeah, and just really, drawing that line in the sand in case there's any doubt about where I stand. This is where I stand. And yeah, do we have, choices that are, sucky and suckier? Probably. However, I'd like to ask probing questions. Do you think how important is content of character to you? And the amount of people that said, oh my God, it's everything, it's this. Like, they're all Trump supporters. I was like, that just doesn't seem congruent to me.
Mm.
And I'm not saying anything is wrong with Trump supporters. People have their reasons, but for me, it's personal. It really is personal in that regard. And I take offense to someone who can back someone who is a bully.
Mm-hmm.
You would be, if your kid was being bullied in school, you'd be, taking a stand for anti-bully tactics in the schools, right?
Mm.
You've seen what happens to teenagers when they're bullied, and especially cyberbullied. And like, how can you be behind a person who practices that kind of behavior? That's just where I'm coming from.
Well, I just wanted to name, I'm just putting it in the chat box, the Intimacy of Race, your Facebook group. It's a wonderful Facebook group, and it's such a great, like you said, safe place to just have these conversations, these inquiries, and to be safe as white or non-Black people of color to ask questions and be awkward and maybe not quite get it right. That you've created such a beautiful container. It's been lovely to witness. So I didn't put the link, but you can search for any of you.
I'll share it in the email.
Oh, fantastic. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah. And then we also have resources in there to further your personal education and learning that are like real resources that have been done over the years, just for you to reference to, because sometimes it's hard to know where to go, where to find, what to read, what do I do? So it's just that kind of space. We don't really fight.
Well, I just want to name that we've gone over our time, and thank you for so generously staying with us and asking questions. And I would say, for those of you that are still here, or if you're listening to this recording afterwards, take advantage of Eva's beautiful gift. If you have questions for Eva further, you can maybe bring them to the Facebook group. But it's just been such an honor to have you all here, such beautiful, engaged, active participants. And Eva, thank you so much for donating your time and your wisdom. And I know one of the things that I noticed in some of the kind of bulleted points, or the almost like journaling prompts that you put in the chat for us, it's just like what great inquiries those are in kind of, I want to go back and journal those and ask them, like, of my business, in relationship to my business, to go back and ask those questions. So thank you so much for those. I'm going to do some journaling this weekend. Yeah, so just many blessings, Eva. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. And it was so nice to be playing in this container with you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, finger wiggles. Yay. All right. Well, good night. Awesome ladies. Thanks for being here, and we'll be in touch and be in community. Mwah. So much love. And I'll email you all on Tuesday with the recording and with the official kind of collective donation total and receipt. So, yay. Oh, bye.